Good morning, folks. This is Thursday morning. I think it's the 5th of May. Cinco de Mayo. I apologize for not keeping up here and getting regular videos out to you all. I got to do a better job. Been trying to focus on taking care of myself and slowing down a little bit. Had a pretty good day yesterday. Just got too many irons in the fire. Trying to do too much at one time. So I'm just going to slow down so I don't make mistakes, because when too much is going on, something gets neglected. So, what can I tell you? I think those folks out there who push for this particular guy to be installed as president, I think you're starting to get what you deserve. The real problem, from what I can detect, is that they want us to actually literally fight. And since the right won't start it, they can't get us to do it, they're going to go after the left and get them to start the violence up, which is what I thought has been their plan all along. Definitely this is not Biden's term. This is Barack Obama's third term. Unless that son of a bitch is stopped, we're in a lot more trouble. We're going to be headed for a lot more trouble. They're purposely running this country into the ground. They're purposely trying to destroy us. They don't want to just take us over. They actually, at this point, are doing their best to genocide us all. You may not think so, but definitely that's what's going on. We don't have any sort of open, proper dialogue. We don't have any First Amendment free speech rights. There is no justice in the country. There's no proper law enforcement. The FBI, according to my sheriff deputy friend decades ago, from his experience working with them, they were an effing bunch of idiots. I think from my experience, they're treasonous traitor rat bastards, to borrow BCP's term, Black Conservative Patriots term. I don't know what the gentleman's real name is. I don't think anybody does, honestly. Anyway, I enjoy him. I got to speed him up a little bit because he's reading. And it's, I don't know if it's always worth my time. I'd rather be reading the Bible or doing other things. So, what I want to tell you is that we're headed for a really rough time. So, you better enjoy today the way it is, the peace that we have. They want to destroy us under the guise of fighting global warming. Of course, the government's been busy doing weather modification for probably a century, a solid century at this point. So if there's any global warming and any man-made altering of the climate, it's by our own stupid-ass government that we ought to just get rid of. We handed this government over to the Frankfurt School at the time we accepted the Federal Reserve System. That screwed things up and required the sinking of the Olympia, not the Titanic, but the Olympia, to murder 3 guys that would have stopped the Federal Reserve. 3 great wealthy men. And it was a giant Jesuit plot. The captain of that vessel was what I call a short skirt Jesuit, or short shirt Jesuit. There's a Latin term for those guys that take the Jesuit oaths, the blood oaths, and yet do not don the garb, do not don the robe, do not connect themselves in a life of the overt life of a Jesuit. Now, I was educated by the Jesuits. They aren't all bad. I figure something on the order of 15% at the most are Vatican assassins. Don't know what else to call them. But they are definitely some bad guys, and they control the secret societies. And you people out there that are so proud because you've got these high positions in your secret societies and you know some secrets, you ought to know that you're totally controlled by the Jesuit general whose office is across the street from the Vatican. Now, how did I learn that? I was educated in Italy, in Florence. And believe it or not, my Italian librarian taught me quite a bit of stuff. She was an amazing lady. English was okay, wasn't real great. But she knew her stuff. She knew, well, for instance, when the female pope was discovered, she went through a particular intersection in Rome and gave birth to a male boy right there in public, I believe. Or at least that's where she collapsed. I don't know if the birth was elsewhere or whatever, but they discovered that pope was not a man. As a result, they developed that chair in which the pope has to sit, and they get to inspect the prospective pope's jewels before they crown the son of a bitch. Isn't it kind of amazing that a woman can fool all the men and pretend she's a man, but then she suffers from her own biology, shall we say? I think this trying to foment violence by leaking the Supreme Court documents at this particular time is an act of treason. I don't think we're ever going to solve it because it fits the keeper's agenda too much. I certainly would like to see the person exposed, charged up to the full extent of the law, and taken to trial. Let's have it. Let's find out who did it, and let's make an example of them. Then again, it couldn't happen to a better group because I don't have much faith in the Supreme Court anyway. They gave us that horrible piece of shit legislation, that judgment, Roe versus Wade, which was an abortion of justice. You folks who want your convenient lies and want your convenient lives, let's face it, it's baby murder. And mothers want to murder their own children. And do the fathers get consented? No. Men have no rights in this country. Men don't have a right to vote. But women, because of that, I think it's the 19th Amendment, have the right to vote. And they shouldn't have the right to vote. That needs to revert to the states as well. Now, I hate to see us trying to reverse back to the republic, going one step at a time, but if that's the way it has to be, that might be what's best, because maybe we can do it without a bunch of violence and bloodshed. Certainly, we've had a half a century of bloodshed for innocent babies. Mostly black babies, by the way. I am pretty fed up with the way things are. Oh, now they're saying they're going to be going after gay marriage and maybe even interracial marriage. I'm all for that. I mean, I think marriage is done by God, done in the church. We didn't have marriage licenses till World War II, as far as I can recall. That was before I was born, though, in case you're wondering. I think this government's gotten too powerful and gotten out of sorts. Every state had a religious test to hold office. So there was no religious test in the central government, the Constitution. It wasn't necessary. Now I think it's necessary to at least return that privilege to the states. In order for this country to grow and to expand, which is what it's going to do. That's what the vision I had showed. We're going to have to loosen up these controls, these central controls, and be more tolerant, accept more diversity. And diversity at the state level is a good thing. And at the county level is an even better thing. Joseph Biden said that the Trump people, the MAGA people, were the most dangerous group ever in the United States. So it's obvious that the man's off his rocker. He's out of his mind. That statement is designed to inflame people and to incite riots and incite all kinds of hatred. I guess that's racial. MAGA is a race, huh? Yeah. Yeah, that's racial hatred, all right. MAGA people are racist, but they're a race unto themselves. So let's be racist against MAGA. Look, I don't think Trump went far enough. I don't think he was really a conservative. I don't think he was America first, except maybe to destroy America first. I think he was pro-Israel all the way. I don't think he was pro the United States of America. I think that's the problem we have, is we We are so far off kilter that we don't know where the center belongs. So, I mean, it's time that we got rid of the duels. No duel should hold office. No duel should be on the Supreme Court. No duel should be in the Congress. No dual citizen should be in the bureaucracy whatsoever. And yet we've had not just dual citizens, but we've had people who were the children of Mossad agents who were heading up the Department of Homeland Security. Folks, if you want to know what America is, what we're supposed to be, you need to read that Bible. The books of Deuteronomy and Leviticus. Exodus establishes the Ten Commandments. We've found Mount Sinai. It's in the Arabia, just like it said in the New Testament. It's in the Arabia. It's not on the Sinai Peninsula. It's just barely on the Arabian Peninsula, just tucked in the northwest corner of Arabia, Saudi Arabia. And it's off limits. They don't have it marked for anybody. There's no tourism allowed. A friend of mine, Mr. Smith, showed me a video. And this video showed clearly the location. And it was discovered by a couple from Mississippi. And they videotaped their second visit to the location, in which they had to cross the barbed wire, basically, to get in there. They showed where the sacrifices, where the water, the stream had been running for the sacrifices. They showed the rock with the carved images on it, where they said, these are your gods. It wasn't referring to that sole lone golden calf that they built up, but it was those symbols around that, kind of a pedestal, if you will, or a pretty fat column, if you will. So that was shown in that video, as well as the rock where Moses struck it. And because of the way he struck the rock, he wasn't allowed to go into the promised land, but he had to see it from the Mount Pisgah in the distance, because he was forbidden entry into the promised land because of his temper tantrum. I guess he hit the rock too many times, or didn't have the right faith, or didn't hold his jaw right. I don't know what it was, but Yahweh was upset. I don't know what it was that caused Yahweh to be upset with Moses, but he was upset with him. That stuff's real, people. Not only that, the same fellow showed me another video, and it was of Sodom and Gomorrah. And we found the places, and that probably was, well, I think that was about 15 years ago, and they excavated Sodom. And what we discovered is that God used a nuke. God used nukes on Sodom and Gomorrah, so it was hellfire and brimstone, all right. Those angels showed up and they nuked the cities. Yes, we have hard physical evidence. There was a crystal formed that was discovered in the rubble. The crystal only forms at nuclear blast sites. So, you people that preach God is just nothing but love. Wow, nuclear bomb love. I don't know. You people that say that God is pure love and all that stuff, well, we don't have his perspective. And he's going to honor justice. He's going to honor the law the way it was set up, because this universe was built on that. Oh, I'm going to have a good day today. I hope you have a good day too. I'm going to keep this short and just call this Morning Musings. I recommend the Navage system. I'll use it this morning. I'm amazed at how much comes out of my head from that stuff. It's really helping to keep down the suffering from the pollen that's going on right now. I highly recommend it. Get $20 off your first order. Follow that link down below. I also recommend that you get this new Bible. I find that it corrects me quite a bit, and I'm going to have to read this for a long time before I get the full benefit, because I've read the other versions for so much. I've got the NIV, which I started with, the NIV Study Bible. I've got the parallel translation, which has got, I think it's the NIV and the King James side by side. Actually, I got two of those. I broke the binding on the first one, so I bought another one. And I have the New Revised Standard, which is a modern English version with the apocryphal books in it. I love that one quite a bit. When I get my bills paid and get in some other things accomplished. Shh, quiet. Lorraine, quiet. Good girl. I'm getting trained here too. It's not just her that gets trained. Good girl. Good girl. She didn't bark last night. The night before, somebody set the light, the alarm light, if you will, off in the neighbor's house. And she barked profusely at that. So I encourage her. Why not? But I'll have to close the door if she keeps this up. I don't want to disturb the neighbors. In this, I've got the proper name version of the King James Bible, which I do believe is the best version of all time at this point. I highly recommend it. The prelude notes, if you will, the introductory notes are excellent. There's no political bias. There's no political agenda. I plan upon buying the Enemy's Bible, which would be, I've got to get another copy of this particular version of the New Revised Standard version. It's an older one, and the prices have gone up, but I'm going to get one more pristine copy of it to have that on the shelf because it's getting harder to get those. I used to get them for $36. I think the last time I spent like $72 on one. So let's see if I can still get one more to keep up on the shelf for long term because I rather like it, especially because it has the apocryphal books, and they're different in that than they are in the King James, the original King James version. Other books I recommend, the Book of Jasher for sure. The books of Enoch, I don't have good copies of those. I've got what's supposed to be the complete, and it throws me off a bit. I don't get that much out of it that other people get out of theirs. So the proper name version, as I'm reading it, I realized that the King James Version actually had me synthesizing concepts, imagining things that weren't really quite right. And whereas the proper name version of the King James Bible is correcting me. It actually is much more precise so that you cannot read things into it as well. And remember, all these denominations, they were reading things into the Bible and pulling things out and out of context. So it's really not a good way to go with these denominational churches. You're better off not going. You're better off sitting at home and reading the Bible for yourself. If you can read it out loud, I think you get more benefit from it. I think you ought to read on a daily basis, and then you ought to spend more time in the Old Testament than the New Testament, and just read over it. It'll take time for things to appear to you and for you to really understand what it is that's there, what you're reading. It's written at several levels, so you're going to always be discovering things. But you're better off doing that, and you're probably better off reading the Bible out loud to yourself than you are listening to me preach about it and tell you what I think it says. I have my biases, my prejudices, my limitations. I continue to grow. I think I am still flexible. I continue to learn. I think that, and I apologize because I was going to keep doing readings and doing Bible studies, but those videos are not getting many views. I don't know if there's any truck drivers out there, but I would think that it would be probably something you'd like to have. You don't even have to watch the video, of course. Just have the audio going, and I'll read the Bible to you. So I'm hoping that I can do a good job of that. And I will keep that up. I've got a lot of things on my plate, so I apologize for not keeping up with things. I really should do at least a Bible reading a day for you, and that'll be a full chapter out of a book. And I should be doing Bible studies as well after that, but I just don't have the hours to do that right now. Kind of in a flat out mode. I've got to get things done. I've had a deadline to pay one of my bills today, and I got 2 more that I got to shuffle money around to take care of. I ran my credit cards up pretty high. Some of the stuff I'm buying is never going to be cheaper than it is right now. Or should I say, the money is going to be so worthless that it's just going to take wheelbarrows of it to buy a loaf of bread or something. The Bible is very explicit, by the way. And this morning, a friend of mine sent me a text message. This message I woke up to, I didn't care for very much. It was basically the idea that these food plants had been burned on purpose in order to cover up, to hide the evidence. And the evidence is that human DNA has been found in these food processing plants. Now, the bad guys read the Bible too, folks. And what they do is they see whatever it is that we're sentenced to, whatever those consequences are, they want to make sure to help Yahweh by enforcing those consequences, if you will. So one of those things that's in the Bible is you will eat your young. Read it. Read it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. But it says that that's one of the outcomes of this, is that you're going to eat your own young. And I think these bad people have been doing that, especially with these aborted fetuses, in case you're wondering. And I think that, there's a lot of murders and a lot of kidnappings, and a lot of folks never appear anywhere. I think a lot of those bodies are just tossed into the slaughterhouses and get processed right along, especially into hamburger and hot dogs with everything else. There was one man in Texas was convicted as a serial killer. His partners at the slaughterhouse went missing over the years, and I think he killed people for over a period of 30 years before they caught him. And he wouldn't get along with people very well, and they would just not show up to work. And of course, he didn't say a word about it because he was busy killing them and disposing of the bodies by putting them into our food supply. He could get away with that in the slaughterhouse. So supposedly those doggone plants have been burned because they're hiding the evidence of human bodies being processed there. Oh, the neighbors across the street. Good girl. She's pretty alert. I like that. And the other thing he tells me is that this mRNA vaccine is in the food. I think it's in the air too. I think they're spraying us with it. I don't trust them. This central government is not our government. It's a corporate government beholden to Rome underneath canon law. Sorry, folks, but the Roman Catholic Church is not they're not good neighbors. Yes, there's some good people there. There's good people in probably almost all religions. I say almost all because there's some pretty bad religions out there. I don't understand the error in religion according to what's documented on the internet. I don't know if that stuff's true or not. Some of those ceremonies they pulled were pretty horrible, like their marriage ceremony. I have no idea if that stuff ever happened at all. I certainly don't believe it's being practiced today. Maybe it is, and we just don't know it. And then, of course, for you black folks out there, some parts of the black bodies and the abortions are sold to companies that sell them to other companies, and they end up being used to flavor food. And my understanding, and this could be totally off the wall and totally wrong, was that Pepsi products in particular, they like to use part of a black female's kidney, which sounds just bizarre to me. And I don't believe it. I don't want to believe it. But that supposedly is used in the flavoring of Pepsi. So I would think if I was a black person, I'd want to know the truth about that. So I personally want to know the truth about that. Okay. I'm going to make another video. What you need to know is what the importance of being called a Caucasian is compared to being called whitey or white. I think of things differently than you do. And I try to use the Bible to to shape my thinking. So that's it for morning musings. Now we're going to go into a lesson on species. You want to call them races. I call them species. Well, Yahweh bless.